Hello, everybody. Uh, I hope all of you are doing fine and all of you are listening to me. My name is Oleg Ivaniloff and I am the host of this channel, QS Английский. And all of you are probably interested in what the title of our today's I will take a risk to call it a dialogue is like why well we are talking about today we are talking about English with no hernia. English with no hernia. That's why I will take another risk to say that hernia is not what you have probably thought about, but just something that is normally an empty balance that keeps people from getting to know English in just from a scratch in a very short period of time. And this is it. Hernia, that's what I'm gonna call all of this, all of the terms, all of the glossary of philology that is relevant to explanations. Well, because explanations they shouldn't contain so much hernia, hernia again, and hernia one more time, because hernia is just the main heavy set load that's been held by people who are still uh, helplessly trying to speak English, to start speaking English in other countries, to start speaking English on their business, to start speaking with no, actually, with no intention to study hernia, but they are imposed to. Well, that hernia, and hernia has to be studied somehow. Well, and what I consider to be hernia, and I want to listen to it carefully. Hernia is useless stuff. Useless stuff that a lot of books contain. That stuff. Well, a lot of things like just audio materials, they all contains hernia, a lot of hernia. Sometimes there is no hernia at all, but hernia still wins, and hernia still makes it just a bigger, major part of the balance. Well, you see, and a hernia is always heavier than anything else. Well, when we see just an easy thing, well, we consider it just a chance and opportunity, but we will never consider it to be expensive. We'll never consider it to be precious on something you really want, something you really want to buy. But hernia, that's what I consider to be uh, just useless terms. Like, well, for instance, if we say, well, come on, there is a new student. He comes to me and I'm a typical philologist. I say, well, now from the very first day, uh, remember that we will study hernia. And hernia contains of present simple tense, past simple tense, future simple tense, present continuous tense, past continuous tense, and future continuous tense. And well, next to it will probably take some subjunctive hernia, subjunctive hernia, yes. And then we'll take some other hernia, and the hernia is a lot. Hernia is major. Well, hernia is nowhere to be to be taken away. Hernia. Do you like hernia? Well, I don't. I really don't like hernia. But hernia has to be the probably the basic part. Well, I don't know. For some reason, it has to be. It has to be the basic part of any curriculum, of any study plan. Well, you see, some people come to the just to attend the course of English, and they say, "I would like to speak English." No. Hernia. First of all, hernia. And hernia is just that complex of long, endless, just numerous terms, and it's very contagious. Some people like hernia, and some people say, "Oh, that hernia is very good." Well, I'd like that hernia to follow my way of life, and their way of life is full of hernia. They like studying English. They like learning English for a long time. Well, and it doesn't matter. They can't apply it in everyday life. They have to study Hernia. Hernia. I say, well, okay. Just another point. Well, someone comes to a lesson of English, to the first lesson of English, but before he starts ever just any curriculum, well, he starts asking a question. Well, uh, what am I supposed to do with that? Why? Why that question? Why do you ever ask me this question? Well, I've never expected this question because it's just the basic of everything. Hernia is the basic of everything. If there were no hernia, there would be no English. Well, I say, what I say, just forget hernia. Let's speak English. And let's speak English at the very first lesson. In order to speak English, you have just recall. You have just to keep in your head to remember something that you took from your childhood, that you took from your experience from the moment you were born up to now, till this moment. You have gained some experience, and that experience has to be applied somehow. Well, and you see, and at the same time, some people study English and then they want to get a certificate just to get allowed to work abroad, for instance, and they say, "Well, where is your certificate of hernia? Where is your certificate of hernia?" I say, "I have no certificate of hernia." That you have to pass a hernia exam. Oh, hernia exam. Well, that's why I have to find another teacher who will teach me hernia. And he comes from me to another teacher, and another teacher says, "Well, well, we will now learn to successfully pass your exam of hernia, because with no hernia, you will never get through. You will never get to the proper work. You have a fancy job on your mind. Well, you will never get it with no hernia certificate." Well, what should I do? Well, what should I do? I go on teaching English, and they go on teaching hernia. They continue teaching hernia because with no hernia, it would have been not certificated somehow. Well, and this is the basic difference. Well, if you study hernia, you will learn to pass an exam. What will you do after the exam? You will probably live in the English speaking environment. And the English speaking environment will require not hernia, but knowing some phrases to be said on the spot, to be just phrases to be said with no hernia. And what I propaganda right now, well, what I'm doing is I'm trying to talk you into English with no hernia. That's what I'm doing. Because all the hernia contains the mistakes. Well, even the English native hernia contains mistakes because we all know that. Probably we know, probably we do, probably. Well, you might have seen my videos and you might have gotten to know that English contains no passive voice. But well, we take any high ranking author's book and we open it and we can see, well, the passive voice of English. Or what should I do? What am I supposed to do with the passive voice if there is no passive voice in English? Well, you will probably experience that in the future. But what am I supposed to say is what I propaganda is English with no heavy loads, with no hernia. Well, I've been thinking recently of writing a book of English with no hernia, but I'm afraid hernia will be considered to be translated or transliterated instead of translation. Well, and they will probably be right because the right translation coincides with the transliteration of the word hernia because it's all hernia. You want to speak English? Just come to my lessons. You want to speak hernia English? Yeah. You may choose any other course, but you will never speak English as It's supposed to be said. It's supposed to be spoken. You see, and well, whatever the phrase you want to say, whatever the situation you have gotten into, whatever you want to tell your friends, your business partners about, it will probably contain a bit of hernia. Just get that hernia away. Let's take it away. Let's speak English. And English, it contains no present continuous tense or no present progressive tense. It contains present simple and the element of continuous. Well, there is no present perfect tense. Well, there is present simple. Well, I have. I'd say it's having. Well, I have done something. Well, there is no passive voice in English because there is an active state. But well, you can see I am here. Is it passive voice? No. Well, I am telephoned every day. I'm telephoned by my students every day. Well, I'm Skyped by my students every day. I'm called on the Skype every day. But this is no passive voice because I am. I do what I am. I am. It's my am, not someone else's, not anyone else's. And that's what I consider hernia when they say there is a passive voice in English. And whatever you want to say, you will be able to say it with no hernia. Uh, just the better you get rid of hernia, the sooner you get rid of hernia, the better. Because, well, if hernia is still allowed, you are walking, half folded under the heavy load of that hernia in your sack. Well, just on your back, and it's going to be a kind of something that stops you from speaking English. And anyways, it's not gonna promote your English anyhow because it's a useless stuff. It's just a useless stuff. It's garbage, and it has to be gotten rid of. Well, you see, what I propaganda is English with no hernia, with no ballast, with no useless load, and that load has to be considered somehow and gotten rid of. Well, you should take it away. Sooner or later, you will. Um, that's why English with no hernia is very, very successful. Well, first of all, at the very first lesson, you will be able to say as many phrases as you like. Well, at the very first lesson of anyone else, you will read the ABC. A, B, C, D, E, F, G, H, I, J, K, L, M, N, O, P, Q, R, S, T, U, V, W, X, Y, Z. And that's going to be your lesson. Well, once my granny told me, well, Oleg, since you are a foreign languages faculty student, I'd like to share with you just a wonderful idea. Well, I have decided to visit Canada, and I have even learned the ABC. I say ABC. Oh, that's good. She said A, B, C, D. Well, what will I say? Well, how are you? How are things going? Oh, how's your family? A, B, C, D, E, F, G. Well, she will say nothing. Well, why am I saying all that? Just because if you are studying hernia English, you are just wasting time. What I consider a heavy load of useless words is just a hernia English. Get rid of it. Just reject it. Just forget about it for a while, at least for a while, and you will get to know what actually should be called the English language. It's practical grammar. Because with no grammar, you will only speak Russian. You will only replace the words with the English ones, and it's not gonna be anything even a bit closer to success in your conversation. So that's what I wanted to say today. Thank you so much for watching this video. It's been Oleg with you. Well, if you would like to be my student, I'll explain to you. I'll explain it to you every grammatical device in pure Russian language. Is going to be compared. Well, with no comparison, it all fails. Well, I don't want you to fail in English. I don't want you to fail in the first situation. I don't want you to be broken down in a conversation that's going to tell you that you are not able to speak English and so forth. English is very simple. Just if you become my student, you will be a professional. You will be an expert just sooner or later. But if you stand on the principle, if you stand out your principles, if you never go to the hernia English, then your English will never turn into a hernia. This has been, well, it's been Oleg with you, Oleg Ivaniloff, and well, welcome to my website, QS English, and I will also publish my contact details. I will be happy. I would be happy. I would love to teach you the perfect English that you are supposed to speak in any situation, any ways, or any situation of your life. If you are a lawyer, we'll study prosecution, defense, and all this stuff. Well, court trial. And if you are a medical, then we'll study injections. We'll study the agents. Well, we'll study remedy, medicine, and all this stuff. Well, if you are a teacher of English, I will just help you how to get more successful among your students. And though I can say that it's a very big popularity because hernia is still very strong. I have to fight. I have to confront hernia all the time. Every day I fight against hernia within your English. That's what I'm doing. And that's the best thing I was born to do. It's probably the best thing I have dedicated my life to. Well, I once dedicated my life to teaching English. And okay, it's been Oleg with you. I will not spend any more of your time. Thank you so much for listening to what hernia English actually is and what pure English actually is. Thank you.